the law of first mention. I honestly, if when I was younger, if my parents understood what it meant to tell me first, how to deal with, what if this happens, this is what you do. If they had spoken to me about what sex was, maybe I would probably have not been so promiscuous and try and go find it somewhere else. If I'd smoked weed, if I'd, smoked, drank, all of these things, like to tell me first what it is that are the consequences of doing certain things, maybe, just maybe. But and don't get me wrong, all our parents told us, that's naughty, that's bad, blah, blah, blah. For my kids now, I see through all of their friends who have now who constantly come over to our house and share their stories, and it's sad sometimes because they say they can't have this conversation with their parents, yet I'm a parent. If I was younger and I was able to tell the story of what happened to me when I was 5, I wish. The only thing I think what our young people often struggle with is that, especially in this day of social media, is that we won't believe them. That is often why children don't say anything, is because they fear that you won't believe what they are telling you. Because again, we come from a culture you would never, the var between a brother and a sister, meant to be tight as, right? You respect, you look after your brothers and sisters, even your aunties and uncles, all of that. And then if that is the case, then why is it that often abuse comes from within rather than without? It's because we haven't spoken about what a var actually looks like between a brother and sister and between family members and how they should be able to be part of your life. And so a lot of kids that I've been dealing with recently, or over in the last maybe 5-10 years, a lot of them have said it's because the trauma that they've gone through is because it's within. So family, remember everyone says FOE, family over everything. So if family is over everything, then that you are speaking out that family is over even your abuse, even over your trauma, even over you trying to find healing. Remember, everything for the sake of family. So then why would a child speak up? Because they're like, they now have the weight to have to carry that I'm trying to hold on and be like, but my parents said it's family, everything for family. So I think sometimes that's why I say we should not be very flippant about words, throwing words out or throwing sayings and trends, because it can become the detriment and even the downfall of a family. And don't get me wrong, me and my kids, we still struggle, we go through things, but I'm just so grateful that I spoke to my daughter only because she's like me, right? I think you will find the way you can tell your child about things and how to navigate taboo topics like sex. And for me, because of what I've gone through, I needed her to know what that was, what that looked like. How does a man, woman come together? Woman, man, it's all, it's anything these days. But I had to tell her what that looks like. And the funniest thing, recently, she is at a girls' high school. And I remember one time, so I've told her, she's 14 now. I remember speaking to her about sex when she was 6. Yeah. Just having to tell her. Because why? Because of what happened to me when I was 5. And I just knew, I was just thinking, how do you stop a generational curse? How do you stop the intergenerational going on? I'm going to start now at the age that what happened to me, then you're going to find out what it should look like and what the sanctity of sex looks like, right? Because a lot of times we're told that sex is bad, but in the context of where it should be and where it should be valued, that's what you need to be teaching your children. Because that's when you feel like you can give it up for anybody. I was not taught that. Again, my parents didn't know any better. But that is why I'm an advocate for me being the first person to mention it to my children. Because why should you learn about that from every other Tom, Dick and Harry? Because every other Tom, Dick and Harry is about your age and they wouldn't even know much themselves. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like we all had, when we were teenagers, we were all trying to figure it out from each other, right? But there is wisdom. There's wisdom from parents. And that is one thing that I lacked often, of not being able to take the wisdom from my parents, right? And it sucks now, but now I know. So now I know as a parent that there is gold in us as a mother and a father. The wisdom that you give your children will be a lifesaver. And so my daughter went to her, she's finished now, but when she was at school, you've got the sex education. And then they send out and say, would your daughter be part of this? I said no, because I can tell her everything that she needs to know.
On you. That's awesome.
But what I was surprised was, out of a school that probably has about 800, she was the only one. She was the only one. Everyone, and I'm not to say, please don't get me wrong. It's not to say that everyone else is or whatever, but she did say to me, she goes, I felt awkward because I was just sitting there by myself out in the hallway while everyone else was having the sex ed talk. And I said to her, well, what do you think you would have learned from this? She goes, whatever you would have already told me anyway.
Wow.
And so that's for me is a win for me, because I don't ever want her to grow up and think that when she becomes a mother, that her advice would fall on deaf ears when she has children. I want what I hold dear to me to be golden nuggets for her and the generation after her.
That's cool.
I don't want it to be given to her by anybody. Yeah.
And
sorry. So trying to roll that back as just understanding. Children just want to be seen. Children, if you watch a child who's probably either gone through abuse, I would only say it isn't always the ones that are quiet. It isn't always the ones that are refraining and don't want to be part of something. That's the problem. Well, abuse has no favorites. Hey,
wow.
You could be the loud one. You could be putting a mask on and pretending that you're right. So that's the harder thing, is having to try and look and find cues about whether or not, because you don't want to be sitting there going, have you been abused?
No.
You've been abused? You don't obviously want to have that look, but you just want to make sure. I think of anything, how important conversations are, the tala noa, and the onus that sits on us as older people to be able to have that conversation with your kids and continuously tell them it's okay if you are going through something. Just let them know. Yeah, safe space sometimes irks me too. That word, safe space, I get it. Space. But because again, we throw those words out and it's like, well, I thought I was safe, but obviously it wasn't, because somebody decided to, So,
it's different for everyone.
Safety. It's different for everyone. So I just think, let us not be ones to go out and be looking around and going, you look like a person that's been abused.
So Caroline does. She's in her workshops going.
It's not even that.
No, I know, but see, you sit in that space. I think you'll just know.
Yeah,
there is a thing
something's
where
off.
I don't know what it is. I'm just going to say this. I feel like obviously women have a better intuitive incline to see it more than men. I'm not. Maybe only because it happens a lot more to women. So there is that thing where I feel like we all maybe operate in a certain way, but I know it happens to men too, and I've spoken to many men too. Yeah.
I think when we get to that point where we start labelling kids, just label them because you can't quite understand their behaviours.
Yeah.
And then it happens in the school system, right? At a young age, kids acting up, and then all of a sudden they're given this name. Or given this label, they're just they're not a good learner. They're not, they're different. And people do that as a shortcut to really trying to understand, who is this kid?
Yeah,
it's not who is this kid. It's what is this kid? And it's almost like put a label on that kid, and maybe everyone else can just treat the kid that way. And it's so unfair when there's a story behind. There. Remember this kid picked up a chair, threw it out the window. Smart as man, super talented, athletically, just this dude was neck level, but he just had stuff happening. And what did the teachers do? Label him, go to the principal's office, and nobody stops to go, hey,
everything all right?
Yeah, hey, why are you acting like this? What are you trying to say? Hey, this other kid we went to go, he was another kid that they just labelled all the time, little shit. We went to his house. Oh my gosh, we went to his house, and the story was about this kid was he his mum hadn't come out of her room. Not for days or weeks, months.
Wow.
Why? Because she was depressed. A year ago, she'd accidentally slept on her baby. Baby died. Anyone pick that up? Anyone bloody ask? Anyone go to his house? No, nobody did. They just called him little shit. And what did he do? He ended up playing that label. Playing that label. And that's what I mean. Like, I think when we start labeling kids and we haven't even got to know them, that's when you need to stop that crap and actually get to know that kid. Find out what their story is.
Yeah.
Because that travels with them right throughout their education.
I had one kid who had, to this day stands out for me, of one of my most profound interviews on air. He's talking about working together with BBM, right? And I love the work that David Atele does, with the youth and stuff like that. And then they brought this young boy on, right? Has been part of maybe ram raids, robberies, all this sort of thing. He's trying to change his life. Beautiful. I was like, awesome. And then it came to the point where I just simply asked him, I said, why do you think people, the youth are going and doing ram raids, all this stuff? And I was not expecting him to all of a sudden get emotional. And he literally just broke down and goes, yeah, people think we're just shit. Like, people think we're just nobodies. But if anyone really knew, the reason why we go do this dumb shit is because no one sees us. No one cares about us. We just want attention.
Yeah.
And when you want attention, bad attention is any attention, right? It doesn't matter. It's as long as they get a bit of attention.
Yeah.
So even if it is bad attention, it is attention.
Yeah, and they call them attention seeking.
Yeah.
Hello, that's what they're doing.
Yeah, and so for me to hear that young boy and just sort of speak very bravely about the fact that he goes, I just wish people would see us. I'm like, and that's often kids. They are not seen, even though they love to be seen online. Like this world of online social media, we all play into it. We are all part of it. But I think if we are not seeing beyond what is actually being posted, I think we can get caught up in the whole hype of what social media is versus what is really happening in someone's life. And so I think for a lot of kids is why they turn to social media, is because someone sees me, right? I've got some views all of a sudden. But the thing is you don't need views. What you need is to know who you are first, which is what Aggie went through. Like, oh my gosh, can you imagine if social media was around our time? Oh God, it would have.
Fans page.
Yeah. Oh. What do you mean? I'm allowed to have
it. With your bandana.
Can you imagine me in, like, literally Tupac doing my OnlyFans? Like, might hit him up. I mean, really. Like, but that's what I'm saying. It just is, whatever would have transferred from one generation to another has just, it's exponential. It's even way more now, but it's just in a different avenue. And so when we felt like we were unseen, it is more so now, just in a different way. And so it's not like anything's changed, right? It's just the method. The method has changed, but it's still the same trauma.
Same
we all still same needs, same hurt, same pain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Band-Aid.